Good evening, dear ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program Face to Face. Since the beginning of the 90s, the doors has been open for all Mongolians to go abroad to study. And many of them have returned with a different knowledge, with a different wisdom of the countries where they have been working and living and studying. Today we have invited one of them who was the first student from Mongolia to go to India and study at the University of Varanasi in India, Mr. Shirindov, who is now having the office of director of Vipassana Research Center of Mongolia. And I would like to thank you for your time to come to our studio.
Thank you very much for giving me such a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. And since I have introduced you as the first Mongolian student to go to India, let us first talk about your experience in living in India and what have you learned by being a student, and how did you feel being the first?
Yes, I could say I was one of the luckiest person to be. And 1990, it was when I was finishing my high school. And at the same time, it was a democratic movement is coming in Mongolia. Yeah. And when I finished my high school, and I was joined in National University of Mongolia in East and West Studies Center, and there I studied for 1 year. And during the time, the Kushok Bakula Rinpoche, who was ambassador of India to Mongolia, he wanted to send about 2 monks to India to study. And then Professor Bira, academician Bira, he said that we need some layperson to go, because we have all the scholars who studied Buddhism in the basis of a Tibetan language only, Tibetan and Mongolian. But Buddha's teaching and Buddhism is basically, he taught in Pali and Sanskrit. So in order to know the roots or true Buddhism, you have to go study these languages, 2 languages, so that you know the perfect meaning of what the Buddha meant himself. So he said that we should send some young person from National University of Mongolia who is studying in the first course now. And then he, because of his suggestion, Bakula Rinpoche agreed that 1 monk will be sent from Janabazar University for Gandang, and 1 young person from National University of Mongolia.
Which was you?
Which was me. And luckily I was selected. And during the time, now the Minister of Culture, Dr. Othombair, he was working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He was looking after India and Central Asia. So he was the young person at that time, very young, and he was first just graduated University of Moscow University of Foreign Affairs, and he was just first time joining this work, and then I was first time. He was during the selection, and then I met him, and I had to fill all applications and everything. During the time I didn't know any English, anything. Even I didn't know ABC. So some scholars of National University, they helped me to fill the applications. And I brought the application to Othombair, and he said, looked through applications, because he knew English very well. So he said, application is fine, but final decision for you to allow to go to India lies upon the Bakula Rinpoche. He has to see you first to approve that you can go. So it was for me, and because of my family background from childhood, my family was very religious, although it was communist time, but somehow we kept we had some monks still in my family. So most of learned monks were taken away and executed, but some young monks who were studying that time, they stayed back, and about 3 of them stayed with my family. And in childhood I was so religious. But then my aim was, I didn't want to follow it blindly. I wanted just try to find out what this life means. Everybody is born in human life, and we know I'm born as a human being. That's true, I know. But another thing I know is one day everybody dies. These 2 things I know, we know, but we don't know from where we come and where we will go. this is not like there has to be some reason in this life. Without reason, then I was wondering, trying to find out what meaning of this human life.
So you have decided to pursue your dream, and you've chosen the Buddhist philosophy as a mentor.
Yes, that was from my childhood. I had some, and then my grandfather, he influenced from childhood. He used to tell me stories about Buddhist scholars, ancient scholars, and things, and that pushed me towards the learning. And then, as advised by Othombai, I went to Bakular Rinpoche to see him, and I was just praying that he just should allow me, somehow he should accept me, because as Othombai said, he was the one who gave approval to go to India. But when I see him, I felt that was because of devotion or some, then when I see him, I felt so strange, I felt like it's not an ordinary person you're meeting. You're meeting someone which he had such a different aura itself. And then I just sat there, and he looked at me. Whatever he was talking, I didn't understand what he was talking about. And then there was Sonomanchuk was there. He was translating, and then he said, Bakulama said, "You are one of the luckiest people. You are going."
Wow, that's
so
great.
It was this selection is made during that 1990, as the beginning of democracy in Mongolia, and I'm very grateful that the democratic movement came to Mongolia. Because of that, I got a chance to go to India, and my dream. And then Bakular Rinpoche, I'm very grateful to him, because he gave me a chance to study to India.
So now you speak fluent English, which some people can even envy. But you previously mentioned that you went to India without any knowledge of English. So how did you work on your language? How did you improve it, especially taking into account the purpose of our program to raise awareness of importance of foreign languages in case of English language? Can you share with your personal experience on that?
The first time even traveling from Mongolia to India was a difficult issue for me, because there was nobody accompanying. Just my friend, but he was good help, because from childhood he was in school 23rd, which has a foreign language. He studied English from 7th grade till 10th, about 3 years, and then he studied about 2 years at the Gandham Monastery and at Zanabazar University. He knows some Tibetan, and then because of him, I didn't get lost on the road.
Very good.
And especially it was very difficult in China, because people were just talking, and then because nobody speaks English and there and no Chinese, and then somehow I went to India, and the Delhi airport. Even Othombai, by the time he was already stationed in Delhi embassy as a second secretary who's looking after the students. So he received me at the airport, and then next day I stayed with his family. Even now we have a close relationship with them. And then they had this little boy there also. And then he took me and then to Indian Culture, ICCR we call it, Indian Cultural Council, and they were sponsoring our scholarship, all things. And then by the time, about 2 days later, we were sent to the Varanasi to study. It was summer, very hot, it's August. And when we reached there, then we were allowed at some guest house, because those directors of that university, they were very happy to receive Mongolian first students from Mongolia, and they allotted us room in the guest house. We stayed in there, and then next day the classes started, and then there's in my classroom they walked in some monk with the yellow robe, and then his head shaven, and and his head is because of shaven. He put some oil on it. It's shining. It could look like a Shaolin monk. And he comes in class and he starts teaching and writing or something on the desk, and he starts talking in Tibetan language. I didn't know what language he's talking about, but later I found out he was speaking Tibetan. My friend had told me. And then he comes, after talking for a while, he comes and asks questions from my friend. He somehow, some things he understood. He was talking to him a little bit, and then he came to me and asked something. I said, I shook hand. I didn't understand nothing. And then he started speaking Hindi. And then he thought maybe he might get some Hindi, but I said no. And then he started speaking English, which is I totally didn't know any ABC at all. So then it was difficult for me. It was very shameful. And then he said, "You are coming to such a big university, which is highest educational in India. That university which I am studying is counted to be as a #1 university as of Buddhist studies."
I see.
So he said, "You coming all the way from Mongolia to study such a high university, and you don't know language, even ABC or Kakakana, or you don't know any Hindi alphabets in at all. So how are you gonna study?" It was shameful, but and then this word spread around the campus. When I walk out, I could see people. They're talking with each other. These two Mongolians coming all the way to Mongolia, trying to study, but they don't know language. How they're gonna succeed? So it was very shameful. But although I was thinking, I didn't get so much disappointed about that, because I thought, given a chance, we can prove we can study.
True.
So after, so we started. So learning language on the spot, on the environment around you.
Right.
So 3 languages together. We had 3 teachers, 1 Tibetan language, 1 English, and 1 Hindi teacher. And then at the same time, he was teaching Sanskrit. And then after 6 months, we were ready to give examination, and because on the spot. And then eventually, I myself developed my own method to learn in English.
What is that?
English and or Hindi. Like for example, when I was studying Hindi, like example, Hindi is a very rich language, because it's composed many, even like one word can be expressed in 6 ways.
Right.
So rich language means you can express yourself any way you want, because you don't have to you search for a word to express yourself, because at least one word comes out of 6.
Right.
So first what I did was I learned how to read and write. That just took about 1 or 2 days. Reading and writing is very easy, because you have alphabets. You can work on it for 24 hours, and then after 2 days you can read and write. So and then what I did was I started learning how to say me, you, such things. Me, you, I'm, all the things, how to say.
Word by word.
Me, you are, me, we are. So such things we know, and then that was important, because first step.
Of course.
And next what I started memorizing is important verbs, like I'm going, I'm eating. So me eating, you eating. Then I started composing sentences out of it. And whatever I learned, I started composing, and I started speaking, using on a person, because there was one teacher from California. She was an American lady, and who was studying Buddhist philosophy there, and she kind of finished her studies. After a while, you can have whatever fun you want, but while you're studying, pay attention to your study.
And which is a perfect lesson.
Yeah,
yes, very true. And I also know that you are working on a translation of a very important series of books from Hindi language or Tibetan language.
Pali language, Sanskrit, and Tibetan.
Can you elaborate more on that? And most importantly, I would like to ask you to talk about the essence. Why you're translating this work, Kanjur Tanjur, and what we modern Mongolians can learn from this book, which has been written thousand years ago.
So, out of my personal interest in Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy, I was there, and this was a subject which was I'm interested in, and whatever time I spent there, it was my enjoying moment studying. And then what I found out was first few years I studied philosophy, which is the theory of the Buddha's teaching. Theory alone cannot help, because it's like you're talking about candy, such a beautiful, such a good taste. You can, by theory, you can say such a the atomic such sweet, But I want to test it. So same thing happened, and I was studying theory, but I wanted to learn how to practice. Because Buddhism itself is pure science. There's nothing like modern time religion. The terminology of religion is not the right word to fit for Buddhism. Buddhism itself is Buddhism, and even all the Eastern studies are Indian science of. We could say it's full of science, and that's what I found out. Then, when I went there, I was thinking that I will not follow it blindly. I wanted to find out the truth. So with that aim, when I was studied, and then very soon I found out this is a pure science. There's nothing dogma in there, and then it could be proved by practice. So I also same time practiced meditation, which was taught by the Buddha himself. And then practice coming together, theory was very easily to be understood. And then very soon what I found out was the Buddhism which we know in Mongolia, in Tibet, it came from India. Originally Buddha he taught in Pali language, and then in 5th century BC. And then after 5 centuries after Buddha's parinirvana, when Buddha expired, it was translated into Sanskrit language, which is the same Indian language, which is literature language of India. And then when it translated, some changes has been there. And then after 13th century, 18th century, starting 8th century, Tibetan starts translating Tibetan language from the Sanskrit version itself, because some changes were there. And then Mongolians are translated later in 17th, 18th century. And then in order to know what Buddha exactly meant, so I had to go to root, which is the Pali version of the Buddha's teaching. So that when I read it, and if I found out there are many sutras still remaining to be translated from the original Pali to Mongolian language, because although in Ganjur is about 108 volumes of Buddha's teaching, and the Danjur is the commentaries of the Ganjur itself. So when I found out that there is some sutras still is not been translated even Tibetan language and even Mongolian language, I decided it should be virtuous work for me, because I studied the same language and then started translating it in Mongolian language.
And what is the essence of the teachings in the Ganjur?
Danjur Buddha's teaching itself is how to purify the mind. Everybody wants to live happy life, even you and me. Everybody wants to be happy. So how to be happy? So happiness, most of the people look for name or fame or wealth. But like a good example of Michael Jackson, you could see, he had everything. He had name, fame, which is famous everywhere, and he had wealth. He had everything. He had his own, like you could say, his own city. Yes, he had, but he didn't have mental peace. How to live peacefully. So what Buddha's teaching was, even ancient Indian rishis, munis, they found out that peace from looking from outside, you cannot be found. But the wealth and other things are you need, but for livelihood. But living for that, for money. What I meant is living for money is not the sense of life, but money is needed for life to sustain. That's a good sense. But only for that, and then your mind is not, you want more and more, and you cannot satisfy your mind. So ancient rishis, they found out as in order to, real peace lies inside. You have to control your mind. And then if you control your mind becomes peaceful. So they found out the practical way to do it. So Buddha himself found a way how to make mind peaceful, and he became himself peaceful, and then taught others how to be peaceful, and then living peaceful life oneself means peaceful life in the family, and spread peacefulness around the country itself.
Also, I learned that recently you have been nominated as a member of the Religious Council by the degree of the President of Mongolia, and I guess this is one of the signs where our government and top decision makers are appreciating the importance of the religion, which has been appreciated for a long time since the transition period. What kind of changes we can anticipate in regard how the government views such religion with the establishment of such institution?
So it was for me the great honor to be as a member of the council, and then it was also, I think, it's a good time, and we have young president who was because of his actions, because of democracy which he brought from Mongolia. I was sent to India to study. Personally, I'm very grateful for him and other friends of him who was involved in democratic movement. And then as of religious affairs, we have many different religions in Mongolia. But all the religions, in a sense, are the same. They have all the teachers of different religions. They are such a wonderful people with such a wonderful. They see world full of people having miseries in themselves, and they found out the way to come out of the misery and live happy life. And they, out of compassion, they taught different ways. And then you could see all these founders of different religions. They've been in different times. Buddha been in 5th century BC, and Jesus Christ in 1st century, and then after that Muhammad, and then so all these founders of religion. What I found out by practicing all these religious the founders, they found that the essence itself is so pure, so nice.
Right.
And then, but difficult lies with the followers. They don't follow the ways of what Buddha taught, what the Jesus Christ taught.
Or different interpretations.
Different interpretations, and if you don't follow the way, you don't know what he taught, and then you cannot like good example. Jesus Christ. You could see many read the Bible and everything, but I think best Bible I could see is when he was hanged and then he was put to death. But people are killing him, but he was generating compassion. I wish these people who doing these things, I wish they may not suffer what the consequences they have. He having at the last moment of death, he could generate compassion towards the people who are killing him.
Which is the essence of many other religions.
This is the great, the Bible itself. Bible could be changed.
Right.
I could do something in addition. But if you are a follower of Jesus Christ, you could be sent like that.
I see.
Loving others, never generating hatred for others. Then you are good followers of Buddha. Even Buddha himself, Buddha was on the tree lying down. He was just as soon as the sun ray came down, he was supposed to breathe his last. And then last moment, he was teaching the way how to come out of misery. So if I am the follower of the Buddha, I have to have compassion for others. People everywhere, there's no difference. Human being is human being. So this new wave of Mongolia, we have different religions. I wish that everybody understood what their teacher taught and follow the way, and then we will not have any problem at all. Compassion, loving each other. That's all.
Very true. Dear Mr. Shirinder, thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, our time has run out, and it's very important to learn that success of the person doesn't start immediately, and it takes first steps, a number of steps to take, and I truly appreciate and admire how you have achieved in your profession and in your personality of taking about the first stories, how you've gone to India. I would like to thank you for your time.
And thank you very much, and I'm also very grateful for all Mongolian people who gave me chance to go to study. I'm very grateful, and I'm doing to pay debt for the people from Mongolia and my nation, that they give me chance to go to study to India. And then I was lucky to be born in Mongolia and then living as a Mongolian. It's the luckiest person. So whatever I'm doing is doing whatever benefit I got from my nation, I'm trying to give it back as much as I can.
Thank you very much. Dear ladies and gentlemen, today's guest has proven that success is not something that comes down comes down from the heaven. You have to work hard. And when you face the first failures, you shouldn't be disappointed or ashamed, but instead you should push yourself forward, as you have seen from the story which Mr. Shirintov has mentioned with us. And I hope that this story today has motivated you also to be more stronger and more powerful in your wills and dreams. I would like to thank you for your time and hope to see you next week.